This is Cole's, Roblox's hardest tower, and I just lied. It isn't even close to being the hardest. Matter of fact, it's actually one of the easiest citadels in the game. But even if I have tried beating this before, I was never able to beat it. That was until today. Or until the next 2 weeks. This took a long time, please watch. Loading into the game for the first time in like half a year, I noticed a ton of differences in the game itself from when I played it last time. But I ignored all of them and went straight on to the Citadel. And since I've already had several attempts at this tower before, I was easily able to speed through the first 4 floors without any problems. But the first floor, which would kinda give me a couple of problems, is the 5th floor, as to beat it, you have to press a whole bunch of buttons to activate sections of a truss which leads you to the next floor. But something about these buttons, which I also remember from my previous attempts, is that you technically only have to press every other button, as you could simply jump the distance between the parts of the truss. But even though I knew this, in this run I only skipped this cyan button because of previous trauma and the purple button, because genuinely where the fuck? After climbing up this newly made ladder, I ended up at the 6th floor. It's pretty insignificant. The only thing worth mentioning is that it leads to what I like to call the big drop, where I drop down, first stopping at floor 4 to run around the entire outside of the tower to press a button, and then this button opens the basements. Also, yes, I know these are technically floors 7 and 8, but fuck you, I'm calling these basements 1 and 4, there ain't nothing you can do about it. The basements are special, since instead of going up, they of course go down. Meaning that if you fall, there's a floor that'll catch you. Just that that floor is completely made out of damage bricks. Meaning that if I fell, I had to wait, and wait, and wait, which is probably the most annoying thing to do. But at least I was able to quickly beat the first basement and then also beat the second basement while only falling once. But that couldn't be said about the third basement, since the third basement is the first time these stupid ass studs that are halfway stuck in walls appear, which especially in later parts are probably one of the most annoying type of jump in the entire tower. And then another part which made this basement especially hard was the fact that there was this kill brick that's constantly spinning around, which applies constant pressure, making these jumps way harder than they'd be without it. And then those jumps led into a tightrope section, which is another thing I haven't mentioned yet, but tightropes are another one of the obby parts that I hate. Even if they aren't difficult at all, they are still really stressful to cross, even if I almost never fail them. But after a bit, and I mean a long bit, I was finally able to beat this basement, meaning that I could move on to the final basement. And the only really difficult part on this basement is the spinning platform which you have to climb up. But if you focus, then you can easily climb it, which I also did. And then after finishing up with a couple of these fuck ass half start jumps, I got to this corridor. I don't know why it exists, it's literally just walking, why does this exist? After the corridor ends, I ended up in the backyard, which isn't really that significant. You literally just have to beat this simple obby while under a bit of pressure from this spinning damage brick. And while I almost just ended my run because of that stupid mistake, when I got to the end of the small obby, I had to wait there for an elevator. And after getting in it and waiting, I arrived at floor 9. Technically floor 7 if you go by my continuity with the basements, but it doesn't matter, it'd be way too confusing. Floor 9 is special, mainly because it's a safety net, meaning that from now on, if I fall inside of the tower, I'd get caught by this floor made of damage bricks, meaning that I wouldn't have to complete any previous floors to get back to where I was, which meant that this floor is probably the floor I completed the most out of any others. But to the floor itself, it's actually pretty easy. Just a couple of simple jumps leading to floor 10. Floor 10 also wasn't that difficult for me, except for... oh no. This purple part on the outside of floor 10 is a part on the outside of floor 10. What the fuck did I write here? But it's pretty safe because of this floor to catch you whenever you fall. except for the fact that you only got 140 seconds or else the floor you're standing on will disappear. This pressure made this part really difficult, even if these 140 seconds are way more than what you need to finish this part. I mostly didn't even need half of the time that was given. Just that the pressure of having a timer always counting down is really stressful, leading to way more mistakes, especially since these are pretty small jumps that are easy to mess up if you don't focus on it. And after spending a really long time on this part, I was finally able to move on to floor 11. And this one was also really insignificant. But the next floor, oh, the next floor. Floor 12 is the stupid bright pink floor. And the moment I got to this floor, I instantly fell because I got on the ladder without looking and got onto the wrong side and fell. And once I finally got back up, I realized that it utilizes a ton of these small stud jumps, with some of them being so thin that they have the same problem as tight ropes, being that sometimes they just crush your balls, meaning that you can't jump, which got me to fall yet again. But not that far at least this time, so I got back up quickly. And then I realized the main gimmick of this floor. There's 3 buttons, for which you have to complete challenges to press them. They are pretty easy, but still kinda build up nerve, especially since this floor was the furthest I got previously, meaning that I didn't know anything about any jumps after that. But the reason I fell wasn't even at one of these buttons, but at the part where you have to jump off the cart to get onto the challenge. In the original audio I remade that Drake embarrassing sound myself. You guys are never gonna see that shit, I'm not putting that out there. And after failing another 2 times at floor 12 and failing a whole bunch of other times, I rage quit it. And after a small 2 days, I decided to try it again. And you see, the reason why I didn't just stop attempting is because in the last video, I said this. I'll have to complete this game in under 30 minutes or else I'll have to beat Coles on Ito. And then I beat the game within 32 minutes, meaning that I have to do this now. But this attempt didn't really get that far, since I literally fell at floor 5. Don't even ask how I managed to do that. But the next run was different. But you know what also could be different? That number over there. If you just simply press this small little button, this tiny minuscule button, it will change and also help me in the process. But only if you're enjoying the video, of course. Back to the tower now. It starts off like the other, just that not like the last run, I'm actually able to get to the backyard. And then, after spending another 11 minutes at the floor 10 purple part, I got to floor 12 yet again. And I actually even got to the carriages this time. And even pressed the first 2 buttons, which meant that I only had to get this final button. But my nerves were maxed, since this was the furthest I've ever gotten in this tower. And as my heartbeat was synced to the music, I fell. This was simply just such an avoidable death. I even made the jump, I just didn't stick the landing. And I realized that, which kinda made me really disappointed. To the point where I just stood there, looking through the menus for 5 minutes until I finally ended the run. After this, I spent about 40 minutes beating the first 3 towers of Ring 0, which was really nice, really relaxing, especially because I haven't played the game since Ring 0 was added, and the towers kinda looked really pretty, like they were all stylized, not like Coles, which was really refreshing, since I couldn't really bring myself to try the Citadel again after that fail. That meant that my next try was another 2 days later, but it ended with me dying to the death bricks on floor 9. Then the next one ended at basement 4, then basement 2, then basement 3. It seemed that I was just consistently getting worse, but there was a single factor that could have prevented every single one of these deaths. Patience. If I had simply waited for myself to heal, I wouldn't have experienced any of these deaths. I was simply growing more and more impatient because this was just way longer than what I originally thought it'd take from when I promised it in the last video. But I realized that, which made me wait instead of rushing it. And yes, while that meant I practically spent 10 whole minutes in the basement, I was actually able to get back to floor 9, where I was then able to get back to floor 12 pretty quickly, where I then quickly pressed button 1, 2, and then actually beat the third button's challenge. Pressing all of these buttons activated this path in the middle, and after accidentally taking a little stroll, I finally made it past floor 12. I finally beat this fuck ass floor. Final 5 floors of the Citadel. Let's go, baby. As you could see, there's a sign that says that I was now at the final 5 floors of the Citadel. And the floor itself wasn't really much special, just that there's this kind of mini tower in the middle, which was kind of similar to the purple part of floor 10 in the sense of taking a really long time for no goddamn reason, mainly because of these stupid Anyways, with the floor being pretty easy, I was able to move on to floor 14 pretty quickly. Alright. Welcome to heck. Holy. But it isn't quite as easy as its predecessor. This was instantly made clear with a pretty thick wraparound. Also with the music. No matter where I go, I cannot escape the song. And after a bunch of these jumps, this happened. No! Genuinely, how the fuck? That was really embarrassing, and from there on out, the run didn't really get better. I ended up only getting back to floor 13 once, where I almost instantly fell off of it. And after a bit more trying, I finally threw in the towel and quit. But while that ending to that run was quite disappointing, I finally saw that I was actually able to progress further than before, which made me way more hopeful for my next runs. Now on to the next run, where I got to floor 13 in the span of 22 minutes, which was genuinely such an improvement compared to the hours it took before to not even be able to beat floor 12. Like, it's just such a huge improvement. But while I was yapping, I got back to the jump I failed last time. How the fuck did I mess up here? Like, dog, look at all this leeway. How the fuck did I fall here last time? But anyways, after doing that actually pretty easy jump, I was able to continue through this floor without any problems. Until I came to what I like to call the big drop. 2. So basically, after dropping back down to the first floor in this tube, you then need to do a bit of obbying to get to a balloon which will send you to the final part of the floor. But this obby that I mentioned is completely filled to the fucking brim with these stupid ass studs that are halfway stuck in the walls, even incorporating them into fuck ass wraparounds. Meaning that the part took 10 whole minutes for something that can be finished in under 1. But as I flew up with the balloon, this happened. Are you kidding me? I had to go on top of there! No! I had to stay on top. I thought I pressed a button or something. No! Fucking dumbass. But luckily, I was able to get back to the balloon pretty quickly this time around. And then I was ready to finally move on to floor 15. Just had to do these few simple wraparound. Are we for real right now? Instead of jumping the way I was supposed to jump, I jumped to the previous part of the floor because I was practically on autopilot. And from there, I fell further and then eventually rage quit. But still, like, at least there was some progress compared to the other runs, I guess. And now to the next run. We don't talk about the next run. And in between the run that shall not be named and the run after that, I actually started playing the game. Like, not just attempting this singular tower, but to actually play the game. And you can see that because we got this cow plush. Not a single second without this sound constantly playing has been recorded since. Anyways, on to the next run. And there isn't really anything that happened here, except for the fact that I failed this really simple wraparound at the start of floor 14. Twice. And that just continued on. I tried it again and again, but failed at the parts which were pretty easy. Like for example this pair of 3 simple wraparounds at the end of floor 14. Easy, right? Well, not for me apparently, since I failed at those jumps and the first jumps of floor 15, which are some of the most simple ass spinners. So many times that I don't even wanna count them. But that streak of straight losses would end now! Since it was the 28th of December 2025 at midnight. For context, most of these runs were recorded late at night, I just never mentioned it. Where I said this. Now is the run, dog. I'm not gonna quit until I win it big. I don't care if I'm here till 3 AM, 4 AM or 5 AM. I'm here until I win it big. That was proven by me making it back up to the big drop 2 pretty quickly. Except that this time I was able to do it. Yes! And even though I fell almost instantly after that, I didn't quit. I wouldn't quit until I won it big. And after getting back to the part where I failed and failing again at it, I was back yet again. Just that this time I actually made it. And this is where floor 15 really starts. Floor 15's whole shtick is that it's a closed off section with a floor of damage bricks to catch you, similar to the basement, which of course means a whole ton of waiting. But I didn't quite realize that at the beginning, which led to this happening. No, no! What? What? Oh my, I had 0 HP! I had 0 HP there, oh my god! You sure bet yourself that I always waited until I was full HP from that point onwards. And even though this floor was quite difficult obby-wise, I was able to complete it after a bit, since you can't really fall through the floor. And with a bit I meant like 20 whole goddamn minutes. But that meant I was finally able to make it to floor 16, which starts off with a couple of ladder flicks, which I'm actually pretty good at. Like, look at this clip. No. Damn. The very thing I'm supposed to not have any problems with made me fall. But I wouldn't quit. Not yet. Not until I won it big. And after another half hour of playing, I finally got back to the 16th floor. And I was actually able to do the ladder flicks and was able to get through the following parts pretty easily. Those being this moving platform, whatever the hell this is, and this really stressful ball part which practically made my hair turn grey from all the stress. And then I finally got to the final floor. And I got through the first part of the floor pretty easily. I did fail this jump once, but it's structured in a way that you land on the end of floor 16, so I was fine. And just like that, I was able to get to the final part. And after healing a bit, I went to go and try it. Just have to jump onto one sphere, now onto this platform. I can practically smell the wind pad now. And now I just have to jump onto this one I failed. I failed the final part of this tower. And from there on out, this run didn't really get better. And I decided to quit without winning it big yet. Also because it maybe was 2 AM and I wanted to go to bed, so I proceeded to watch TikTok until 6 AM, but that isn't relevant to the story. And after quitting, I decided to look up another person beating the tower to see what came after the jump that I failed. One jump. This jump that I failed was quite literally the second to last jump in the entire tower. This crushed me, to the point where I didn't even want to attempt this tower for 3 days, but I still wanted to have one more attempt at the final 5 hours of 2025. And I was actually able to get back to the final floors, being able to get to the final floor in just 40 minutes. And from there, I made it back to the part where I failed at last time. And all I have to do now to win is... Yet again, I folded under the immense stress. Stress! This tower completely relies on stress. These jumps on their own are probably the easiest jumps ever. But considering the fact that these are the jumps that decide if the past 13 hours of attempts were for nothing, or if you can actually win, put some immense pressure on your back, which makes you crack and mess up way more easily. But realizing this, I try to be calmer and continue on this attempt. Yes! Yes! Now I just have to do this one jump. Oh my god. Oh my god. The final jump. I've been working for this. I'ma just... Yes! 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 Finally! Baby, yes! Oh my god. Look at it. My hardest beating goals. Yes, finally. Wait, how long did it? 13 hours. It took me 13 hours. But I finally beat this. Yes.